Alright, so this is a pipe plug here. I think it's like a 2 inch, 2.5. I don't know what it is. What we're going to do is we're going to make some projectiles for my air cannon. It's a 2 inch barrel. So my bore is 2 inches and 40 thousandths. Right here we're doing a interrupted cut. Try and knock that edge off there. What I've noticed is if I take a deeper cut, about 35 thousandths, it does a lot better than I take a light cut, 15 thousandths or so. This little machine doesn't handle a cut a whole lot larger than that, and the speed that I'm cutting is about as slow as you can get it. Everything is sped up very much. I turned about an hour and a half into, I don't know, 12 minutes. So we're trying to get through it. I'm cutting my bore down right now. Once I get it down to where I want it, as you can see, I'm leaving a little bit of edge there, and that edge is so that I have something to reference against. We're not trying to make super accurate, super awesome bullets here. We're trying to make something to shoot. Right there, I'm facing it off. Make a good flat surface, deburr it a little bit, flip it over, and we're going to again reference on that edge that I left. So that ought to be a good true surface to edge to reference off of. That way we can go back to cutting. This is a slightly interrupted cut also because we're going to cut the threads off there. Not near as bad. I can cut a lot deeper. On this size of material, about the deepest I can cut on this little lathe is 50, 60 thousandths. You can maybe be able to cut a little deeper, but not with the tool that I'm using. So we make a pass. Make a couple passes here. I'm trying to do it kind of fast. I turn my tooling to where I can get a good shoulder up there right on the edge, and then I turn it back out so that I can go ahead and keep cutting down. If we're making precision parts, we do a lot more steps, but on this we're not worried about it at all. Right here I'm set up using my compound to cut an angle. I started off with about a 22-23 degree angle, and we're not being super particular. We're just trying to cut it down. Here in a minute I will bring out a semi-wad cutter and compare it, and then once I do that I realize my angle is just a little steep. So there's that wad cutter, and I compare it, and let's change some things up. So here I cut it back down to only about 11 degree angle, and I go back and I start using my compound again to bring that shoulder out to get the angle that I want and the look that I want for that projectile. It cut pretty smooth. Everything worked pretty well. This is a lot softer material than I'm used to working with. A lot of time when you're working with stainless or aluminum even, as long as you're making a 5 thousandths cut or so, it cuts pretty smooth. This stuff, I would make some big dig passes, and then I'd come back and do a fine pass, and it just seems to kind of drag the material a little bit. The finish isn't near as good on this trash steel as it would be on something else. You can see right here where I've got the right angle going. You can see my cuts were pretty rough. So here I put it back in the mill, or in the lathe, sorry, and I go to cut down my final dimensions. I knocked off that ridge that was left. This is a large cutoff tool that I got from my uncle, and it works very well, especially for like aluminum and stuff like that. It's a little bit big for this small lathe, but it's a very sharp tool, works great. I'm going to use that to make the bands in my semi-wad cutter. The first band right there, I'm marking it with Sharpie. I didn't measure anything. I just kind of eyeballed it. I cut my first one. I go to set up my second one, and you'll see that I have a failure here where I came out. Bam. Too much. So at this point, and I was relying on that taper, that bullet. I shouldn't have been. So this time I'm going to tighten back down on it, get it referencing back off that shoulder, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring the tailstock in to make sure it holds it in place and we don't have any kind of movement while I make this next cut. Yeah, my camera is sitting on my tailstock. I need to figure out some other ways to hold my camera if I want to continue videotaping some of these operations. Here I'm just cleaning everything up. That way I can show you what it looks like. And like I said, it kind of drug material, so it's kind of not as pretty as I wanted it to be. But for it down and dirty, no checking anything, it came out all right. Next, what I've got here is a cap, a pipe cap. And all I'm wanting to do is, and you can see it's not true at all, but I don't have a rifle barrel on this air cannon, so trueness isn't going to help me at all. I'm just going to cut down the diameter and get it down to where it'll fit. Here we go. So I'm taking a measurement. I done cut it down to where it's 2.12. I need to get down to 2.04. So I'm going to dial this thing. I'm going to dial this thing to about 40 thousandths, which will cut 80 thousandths off of that, which will get me within 10 or so. Anytime you're cutting off, you got to remember you're cutting off of both sides, not just one side. So here we go. This is at I think 32x, maybe 16, something like that. It's pretty quick. The smoke is from oiling it, and that oil's burning off. That oil kind of keeps that bit cool, but it does make the room a little bit smoky if you use too much oil. So I use it depending on what I think I'm going to need. So I'll take a measurement again. You can see I'm just slight of my goal. So I'm going to take another cut here. Let's see. I'm going to make this pass well oiled also. That way I get a good finish. Right here I'm going to turn that tool, that way I can get a good face on it. Since I didn't zero anything, I want to make sure I get a good face, that way when I re-chuck it in there backwards, it can reference off of the back of that chuck. Not 100% science. I mean, I'll be plus or minus 3 to 5 thousandths probably, but it's good enough for what I'm making. There's that good clean front. Now I'm going to put a little bit of an edge on there, that way we won't have any kind of resistance when we try to slip it down the bore. And now we're going to cut that shoulder off. Make it good and nice. That's a little bit of cleanup. I'm going to chuck it back around the other way, and this time I'm just going to slick it down a little bit, get rid of some of those machining marks. Just, clean it up. Now here's all 4 projectiles that I made. That one It does not have a dovetail on the back end. The next one does, and man, it pretty sharp. It worked out real well. Um, Next one's gonna be that semi wad cutter. Prettiest one I made. It did not. Well, you'll find out how it flew when you watch the other video. Um, and that one is just designed after a FMJ 9mm 40 whatever, just regular pistol style bullet. I don't have the weights on these. My digital scale, I went to go use it, and the batteries are corroded in it. Didn't make very well. That was a 300 blackout. This is a 357 AR, which is a rimless 357 max. Just in size comparison. So that's 223Ks blowed out. This is the air cannon. 2-inch bore. That's a 4-inch chamber. All the tubing was done by me. That valve right there is designed to dump pretty much that whole chamber in, man, a quarter of a second. It's very fast. It has a lot more power than expected. Here we go with a test. That's about how tight it is in the bore. Well, there they are, gentlemen. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll see how it goes in the next video.